Today I am going to show you how to make Mississippi mud cake. So let's get started. Alright, for the cake ingredients you will need 1 cup of butter, 1/2 cup of cocoa, 4 eggs, 2 cups of sugar, 1 1/3 cups of cake flour or all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2 cups of mini marshmallows, and the topping ingredients for the chocolate topping is 1/2 stick of butter, which is 1/4 cup, 1/3 cup of cocoa, 1/2 cup of milk, 16 ounces of powdered sugar, confectionery sugar. And now we're moving on to making the cake. So in a heavy saucepan, I put in the 1 cup of butter, which is 2 sticks of butter. You can see I'm doing that. And then to that butter, I add the cocoa, 1/2 cup of cocoa. Just shaking it all in there, making sure I get the right amount. And then I take a 9x13 pan and put some cooking spray in there, spray it up to prepare the pan, the cake, and then I go wet and set the oven for 325. I'll preheat the oven. Then I shifted the butter and cocoa to the stove top. Put the setting on low heat. I put it on really low heat at first because I wasn't sure how quickly my oven or my stove top would have heated it up. So I started on super low first because you need to melt it on low. I started out with the butter being soft, and so I was mixing it up just like that a little bit. Then I went back over to the counter and I took my eggs and cracked them open, and I'm gonna be beating them because you need 4 beaten eggs. Then I went to check back onto the stovetop to see how my melted chocolate was coming along. Still not melted. Nope, still not melted. So what I did was I increased the heat just a little bit between low and medium. And then to continue on with my eggs, you see how I have my beaten eggs there. I am adding sugar to it, the 2 cups of sugar. And with that sugar and the eggs, I will also add the teaspoon of vanilla. Then I will take the whisk and beat it up. Beat it up until it's good and mixed. And then after that's all beaten and well blended, I'll set that aside and wait for the chocolate sauce to be melted and cooled. Then I went back to the stove to check my chocolate sauce there with the butter and cocoa. And it's coming along. I didn't want to hurry it because you don't want to burn it. I didn't want to burn it. But there is sufficient heat there and the butter is melting and it's melting and it's melting. Stir it and mix it until all of the butter is melted and the mixture is very smooth. Turned off the heat and then remove the pan from the heat and set it aside to cool. Now what I didn't show you was, in order to hurry up the cooling process, I put it in the refrigerator to let it cool. And so in the meantime, while I was cooling the chocolate, I measured out my flour and put the salt in with the flour and sifted it up with my whisk for the next step. Then I took the egg and the sugar mixture and I poured the cooled chocolates in there. And I blended that in and I mixed that in. I made sure to get all the chocolate out of the pan that I could. How smooth that looks? That's what you want it to look like. Then I poured the flour in my batter. And I mixed that in there. Stirred it in. You stir it in. Until it is blended. You stir it in until it is blended. I was just making sure everything was all mixed together. Then you pull out your pan and pour the batter into the pan and spread it out evenly. I like to use the spatula for spreading out the batter. But in this case right now, I was cleaning out the bowl, making sure I got every bit of the chocolatey goodness. And then I switched to the spatula, so I just spread it out in the pan. Consistency of the batter is like a brownie mix, like a brownie batter. Yeah, I shook it, but it didn't help. The batter wasn't moving, so I had to keep spreading it, making sure everything was even. I set the timer to 35 minutes. My oven was preheated to 325, and I set the timer and put the pan in the oven, baking it, and then in the meantime, while the cake is baking, I started on making the chocolate topping. So I put the 1/4 cup of butter in the pan. The 1/3 cup of cocoa. The 1/2 cup of milk. I usually tidy up as I go along. Sometimes I'll tidy up a little bit. And I'm getting ready to transfer it to the stovetop. And I put the burner on medium-high heat, so it will heat up more quickly. So I began to stir it, and I kept stirring it. The butter was melting quickly. I was not using really, really cold butter. It was room temperature butter. I noticed there were some clumps in there, and I was trying to get the clumps out of the liquid there, trying to make everything all blended together. Kind of reminds me of gravy, you know, except this is like chocolate gravy. But the point of this is I was stirring it and waiting for it to boil. It needs to boil for 1 minute, and then you remove it from the heat. But the consistency is like gravy. And as it boils, it does get a little bit thicker. It didn't take very long, and I transferred the pot to my counter and added some confectionery sugar in there. I only added a little bit to start, and then I used the mixer to mix it in. And you do this while it is hot. You don't wait for it to cool. Then I just added the rest of the bag. I mixed this, and I mixed this, and I mixed it until it was nice and smooth. Yeah, so that's how it's supposed to look. It's supposed to still be runny. So now my cake part is finished. It is hot, and I'm pouring the 2 cups of mini marshmallows over the top of the cake. and then I will return it back to the oven so that the mini marshmallows will melt and turn a light brown color. And it takes about around 7 minutes or so. You do have to keep an eye on it so that it doesn't over bake. But this is how it's supposed to look after about, for me it was after about 7 minutes. And then I poured the chocolate topping over top of the hot marshmallows. My wrist got tired, so I had to give it a little rest before continuing. I just went back and forth, covering the marshmallows. I was working on getting all of the chocolate topping out of the pan. I want to make sure that all of it was used up. Oops. I didn't mean for that to drop such a big clump right there. But that's how it looks when it's all finished. Doesn't that look yummy? And there's a piece. Okay, so the cake has been cooled now so that I can take a piece out and try it. It looks really, really good. And so now I'm going to taste it. Here's the bite. You can see it's got the crummy, fudgy texture with the chocolate topping and the melted marshmallows. Looks really good and delicious. Really good. Very chocolatey and rich. A little piece will do ya. I hope you have as much fun making it as I did. So long for now.